Welcome back to the Explanation Pro. Today I'll recap a drama romance film called The Danish Girl. Spoilers incoming. The movie begins where Ina, alias Lily, a famous landscape painter, showcases artworks in an art exhibit. The crowd admires the beauty of Denmark as they can visualize the picturesque landscape of the place. Ina receives compliments from the visitors, especially from Rasmussen, in his exhibit as his wife, Gerda, a portrait artist, watches her husband's interaction from a distance. Einar visits the location of the backdrop of the storm scene where he sees their ballerina friend, Ola. Einar admires Ola's clothing as she is assisted in adjusting her tutu dress to her liking. The two talk about Einar and Gerda's situation, especially the couple of not having a child despite being married for quite a while now. Einar also informs Ola that she leaves Gerda to give her some space, as the latter has been entertaining a client to do a portrait. Einar arrives at their house when he sees Gerda doing her makeup in front of the mirror. After fixing herself, Gerda leaves and brings her portraits to present her works to Rasmussen. Gerda shows her paintings to Rasmussen, but he seems unsatisfied as the masterpiece is unsuitable for her talent. Rasmussen suggests that Gerda must find a subject that will complement her talent in painting portraits, just like Einar's consensus opinion of her. Gerda goes home with incredible frustration with her previous conversation with Rasmussen. She confronts Einar to leave her alone as he talks about her business with Rasmussen. Upon lashing out her frustration, Gerda leaves Einar behind and walks out, but Einar tries to tame his angry woman. After changing to her regular clothes, Gerda goes back to apologize to Einar. As the two discuss their argument, Gerda asks her husband to help her do her portrait and fill in as the female model of her piece because the female model did not arrive on time. Gerda asks Einar to wear stockings, the shoes, and the dress so he can now model for her. The act of illustrating a female figure unmasks Einar's longtime dilemma with his perceived gender identity as a woman. As Einar portrays the character, he is drowned in thought as his legs femininely pose for Gerda's satisfaction. While Gerda strokes her brush in her canvas, Einar unknowingly admires the dress's fabric in his hands. Suddenly, Ola arrives with a bouquet in her hands, as she names the altar appearance of Einar as Lily. While Einar continues to do his art piece, Gerda interrupts him from doing his craft. The wife tries swooning her husband as she rests her chin on his shoulder. The two talk about Hans, Einar's childhood friend who is currently in Paris as he works as an art dealer. Einar watches his wife undress as he notices that she is wearing a new nightdress. He runs his hand through the fabric, then later grabs Gerda in their bed. Gerda asks Einar if he has any problem with her clothing, but her husband changes the situation by shutting her up through a kiss. The couple attends a gathering with their friends as Einar and Gerda have become the center of attention during the talk. Einar's admiration towards Gerda has been revealed, as he tells everyone the things he loved dearly about her. Einar sits on the bed as Gerda undresses her husband and notices that he is wearing the nightdress she has shown him. Running her fingertips through the fabric, Gerda finds Einar's behavior strange but drags him above her to do some bed action. Gerda tries sketching Einar as she expertly strokes the pen in her paper. Einar suddenly wakes up from his deep slumber and notices that his wife is not beside him. Gerda confesses her thoughts about having a baby and wonders about Einar's features as she continuously draws his figure despite the uncertainties bothering her. Gerda informs Einar of the artist ball they have been invited to. Einar tells her that he will not go with her, but Gerda encourages him to accompany her. Gerda suggests bringing Einar but crossdresses and portrays to become Lily, the character he once represented. Gerda transforms Einar into a beautiful woman by doing his makeup and stylishly covering his neck with a scarf. Einar femininely poses for Gerda as she draws Lily, the character Einar is trying to characterize. After doing her sketch, Gerda trains Einar to become more feminine and teaches him the posture of a sophisticated woman. Gerda and Lily arrive at the artist ball as Lily becomes the center of attention due to her alluring beauty. Gerda introduces Lily as Einar's cousin to their colleagues, and Ola invites them to socialize at the party. The crowd has noticed Lily's exquisite features as men show affection and throw shameless stares in her direction. As Gerda leaves Lily, she decides to sit on a chair where the crowd will notice her mostly. Surprisingly, a guy from the party, Sandal, sits beside her and starts conversing and showing his interest in her. Uncomfortable with her situation, Lily leaves Sandal behind and isolates herself outside the ball's venue, but he follows her. Sandal tries his luck as he takes advantage of Lily's vulnerability and kisses her. Flabbergasted with Sandal's advances, Lily gets a bloody nose as Gerda, watching from a distance, attends the two's affair. Lily's condition has caught the crowd's attention as Gerda assists her away from the party. Gerda confronts Einar about his encounter with Sandal and reminds him that it was all about the game they created. Gerda knows that something is going on with Einar's take on his alter ego. The idea of being Lily absorbs him. Fighting about this issue, Einar chooses to leave Gerda behind. Einar impulsively leaves their house and goes to where he gets his wardrobe when he portrays Lily. He removes his clothes one by one and stares at his reflection in the mirror. Einar slowly removes his final piece of clothing, revealing his hidden rod. Einar slowly grabs his thing and pushes it back behind his legs as if hiding something from his reflection. He holds a dress to his liking and acts as if he is enjoying and feeling the fabric in his skin. Gerda frustratingly draws Lily's appearance in her painting. Every stroke of her hand, every move that she makes manifests her outburst towards Lily's existence. On the other hand, Einar dresses himself to become Lily and appears on the invitation she receives from Sandal. Gerda tells Einar that he thought that he would never come back to their house. Striding his way towards Gerda's direction, Einar reassures Gerda that he will never leave her. Einar hugs the saddened Gerda, who is sitting helplessly on the floor. Gerda brings her painting of Lily's portraits to Rasmussen's office to show him her artwork. To her surprise, Rasmussen will take her piece as it may be sold to the market. Meanwhile, Einar chooses to become Lily and visit Sandal's house. Sandal shows his affection as he tries kissing Lily as he would like to have a physical connection in her body. As Lily knows that Sandal will find out about her secret, she stops him from further aggression. Uncomfortable with their situation, Lily decides to leave and goes home. Gerda slowly walks in Lily's direction and asks her if she is all right, but Lily only cries out and confesses her meeting with Sandal. After admitting, Lily leaves Gerda and strides her way to their room. Tears were rolling down her face. Gerda unbelievably stared down at nowhere as she tried to digest the confession she had just received. After changing to become Einar once again, he goes back where he left his wife. Einar tells Gerda that he loves her dearly, but her confusion of becoming Lily takes over. Einar narrates that it is not the first time a male species have kissed him. That friend has once tried kissing him. Suddenly, Einar falls as he experiences excruciating pain attacking his body, making Gerda worried about his current state. Gerda assists Einar in visiting a doctor to find out his health condition. The doctor explains that Einar is experiencing a chemical imbalance and suggests a radiation treatment. The doctor then talks to Gerda and tells her about his case, but Gerda cannot accept his diagnosis. Rasmussen assists Gerda towards his office to inform her that her masterpiece has been sold as the Galerie Étienne Dufour in Paris wants to represent her. As the news excites Gerda, she tries telling Einar the excellent information. However, before she reaches her home, she sees the letter she received from the doctor at the Radius Institute. Gerda tells Einar about the offer in Paris, but her husband declines to join her. Angry with Einar's disagreement, Gerda pushes him to do her a favor, to come with her. Einar notices that something is wrong with Gerda's pushover, as his wife tells him about the letter she received. The couple migrates to Paris as Gerda receives an opportunity to present her artworks in the area as Lily's portraits allure the local art dealers. The feminine state of Lily radiates a different vibe which Gerda has successfully showcased in her painting. The exhibit happens in Paris as the dealers admire Gerda's painting. Upon going home, Gerda tries seducing Einar to have lovemaking, but Einar is too stiff and adamant to submit. Einar visits an entertainment hub where a naked woman seduces the customer from her malicious yet erotic moves. Instead of being turned on with her movements, Einar duplicates her, portraying the actions she has shown him. As the woman continuously manifests feminine activities, Einar follows her lead accordingly. Gerda seeks to track down Einar's childhood friend, Hans, who had kissed her when they were younger. Gerda asks for Hans' help to address Einar's dilemma, as he might be helpful to handle his case. She explains that he has lost his way, and he needs a friend to represent him. Hans agrees. Gerda informs Einar about Hans' visit during dinner as he will be her new dealer. Picking up Hans, they may proceed to their house and see Einar. But to her utter shock, it wasn't Einar that they had met. It was Lily, his alter ego. Gerda has become uncomfortable with Lily's flirtatious attempts towards Hans. so she asks the latter to see Einar's works, but Lily does not take the situation lightly and walks out. Hans knows that the case will not do any good, so he bid goodbye. Lily has become Einar's peg for days, or even weeks, in Paris. Gerda allows her to express herself, disregarding the feminine cross-dressing and actions. Until Gerda's event arrives, Einar never visits the gallery. On the other hand, Hans invites Gerda for a simple celebration, but the woman declines his offer, disregarding the growing affection. Ignoring the pouring rain, Gerda abandons her show to confront Lily to bring back her husband. The two fight regarding their playing setup as Gerda complains about Lily's selfishness in pursuing her interests. Gerda begs Lily to get Einar back, but Lily refuses. Hearing this refusal from Lily, Gerda walks out as she cannot take her response. Going outside, Gerda crosses paths with Hans and immediately hugs him to gain strength. The situation sways Gerda as she kisses him instantly. She leaves him behind upon realizing her abrupt mistake as Hans calls for her attention. Going back home, Gerda sees Einar sitting on the couch as if he is waiting for her. Einar informs Gerda that they cannot proceed with this kind of setup for long. Meanwhile, Gerda consults Ola about their situation, as the girl suggested bringing Einar to the famous doctor interested in Einar's condition, as he might give a concrete explanation of his condition. Einar visits a library to seek an answer to the growing confusion of his gender identity. After collecting information, two men chase him down and mock him for his sexuality. The men have beaten him into pulp, leaving him several bruises and cuts. Einar goes to Hans' abode, as the guy treats his wounds carefully. The two talk about Einar's situation as he confesses his confusions and struggles to maintain his identity. As Einar seeks professional help, he sees that the doctor labeled him schizophrenic. Einar escapes the institution as the doctor calls for medical assistance to lock him up in an asylum. As the couple talks about their situation, Gerda convinces Einar to consult one last time, to follow Ola's recommendation to meet Dr. Warnekroos. Upon meeting with the doctor, he has explained that he has encountered several similar cases. Dr. Warnekroos explains that there are biologically and physically male people, but deep within them, they claim and identify themselves as a woman. Dr. Warnekroos proposes a practical yet innovative way of addressing his problem, a male-to-female reassignment surgery. Dr. Warnekroos informs Gerda and Einar that it is a two-part surgery that will first remove his external genitalia. After some time, if he will be able to survive the first operation, the second procedure will make his genitals akin to a vagina. Dr. Warnekroos warns them that the surgery is dangerous as Einar will be the first to undergo such operations. However, it will no longer be Einar once the surgery is done. Einar agrees to participate in the reassignment surgery to fulfill his dream of becoming a full-fledged woman. Hans and Gerda send Einar to the train station in Germany, where the surgery will occur. The couple has been emotional that they will now face the reality of their choices. Before they part ways, Gerda gives his scarf to Einar to remind him of her presence. Einar arrives in Germany as he presents himself as Lily. Lily now goes to the hospital, where his surgery will take over, as Dr. Warnekroos explains the entire journey of the operation. Gerda decides to follow Lily and stay by her side no matter how complex the situation is. As she meets with Hans, she tells him to back off to continue supporting Lily with her decision. Hans decides to leave as he has been receiving rejections from her ever since his attraction began. Gerda arrives in the hospital right after the reassignment surgery's first procedure. Lily suffers from infection and an unfavorable prognosis. Gerda assists Lily till she recovers from her operation as she stays by her side during the healing period. They have decided to go back to Denmark as Lily becomes a sales assistant in a department store where she sells women's perfume. Sandal notices the presence of Lily while he is drinking his coffee in an outdoor cafe. Lily explains his current situation and the medical intervention that has changed her fate. Upon going home, as Lily discusses her journaling and her work experiences with Gerda, they have come up with a misunderstanding and have reminded Gerda that things will never be the same. Einar is dead the moment Lily has come to life. Gerda called the office in London where Hans currently works. However, Hans was not around, so she instructed the attendant to deliver her message once he arrived. Lily decides to go back to Dresden to undergo the second procedure. Lily asks Gerda to accompany her back, but Gerda refuses to, as it may send her to her deathbed. Fixed with the thought of pursuing his dream of becoming a woman, Lily goes back to Germany and meets Dr. Warnekroos. Gerda shows up after the surgery is complete, but drive. Warnekroos informs that the surgery is unsuccessful. Lily is pale and weak. Upon talking with Dr. Warnekroos, Gerda is now aware of Lily's condition as she lost too much blood from the operation. Rushing to Lily's hospital room to check on her, Gerda witnesses Lily's agonizing appearance as the nurses try to comfort and relieve her from excruciating pain. She takes care of Lily as she suffers from the aftermath of the operation. As Lily requests to be taken out to the garden, she thanks Gerda for all the love and support she received from her. After Lily narrates her dream, slowly, she closes her eyes as she dies talking to Gerda. The movie ends with Gerda and Hans traveling to the hilltop in Denmark where Hans and Einar grew up, in the cliff where they can view the 5 trees that Einar has often painted. Suddenly, the scarf that Gerda had initially been given to Lily is carried by the wind, a manifestation of freedom as the cloth is taken and is dancing as the wind blows it. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button and also subscribe my channel for more videos like this. See you in the next video.